All right, now we're good. All right, great. Co-main event, a couple of ranked fighters. I mean, it seems like a big opponent, a big moment. Does it feel like a big fight for you?
Yeah, man, it definitely feels like a really big fight. It's a step up in competition, but this is what I wanted. I wanted to show the UFC that you can put me in a co-main event spot against a guy that I'm an underdog against, and I can still perform. My last co-main event spot was against Ricky Glenn. We all know what happened in that fight, and it was a great blessing for me, but it's time for me to prove that the move to ATT was the best move I could make, and I am ready for this.
I love it. A couple of big wins, but 8 months or so between fights. Is that
9?
9. There you go. I mean, looking like that wasn't planned, maybe.
Yeah, so I fought November 5th. I got married November 20th. And I asked for a fight November 21st, and it was just one of those situations. We got offered Demir, and then we said yes, and then they offered Tony instead, and I was like, yeah, way easier fight, way bigger name, yeah, give me that guy. And then that fight ended up falling through, and so now it's back to Demir.
Nice. Has that been difficult for you then at all, knowing that you were ready to fight November 21st? You've had to wait till this. Has it been challenging to stay focused, to stay ready?
Yeah, not to stay focused and to stay ready. I do this because I absolutely love it. I absolutely love this more than anything. So I'm just training and getting ready to go. It's more so I just want to show people how much better I'm getting. And I'm not old by any means, but every year that goes by, I do get older. And so you can't do this forever. I want to get that belt before I end this career. That is the #1 goal, is to become a world champion. And this is what I tell people. Like, I am here to be a world champion, or everything that I've done up to this point will have been a waste of my time. And I keep that mentality. I am here to be a champion, and that's it. So it's a little frustrating when you have that much time in between fights, just because I felt like coming off the Madsen fight, I had all this hype and this momentum, and people were talking about me, and then I disappeared for 9 months, and now they kind of forgot about me.
So for a lot of fighters, we hear like it's kind of hard for them to focus or dial in, like until they have a name on the contract, until they have a date. It sounds like you don't suffer from that.
Those guys are crazy. I don't understand. We are fist fighting people. How do you not focus on this 24/7? We are fist fighting people. Like, and not to mention, training is so much fun. If you don't enjoy training, dude, just stop fighting, because you're going to be 90% training. If you want to be good, 90% training, 5% cutting, and then 5% fighting. So, like, if you don't like training, man, get out of here. I love training. I absolutely love training.
That's awesome. All right, knowing the expectations that you have for yourself, I'm curious how you view things, because your career as of late, especially this penchant for like late finishes, and some people might say, well, I mean, it's taking them so long to get things done, but it seems like that's kind of a character strength, that you can go deep and that you can pull out those results late in fights. So how do you look at it? Are you like, man, I wish I was getting these first round finishes, or do you see it as like, man, look at what I could do late in fights?
I wish I could finish every fight in the first 10 seconds. That would be absolutely great. However, I do think that it shows that I can push a pace. And I think one of the things is they stay safe for the first 2 rounds, and then by the 3rd round, they're so tired from fighting me off the whole time that I end up getting the finish. I am coming in with the mindset that I want to finish, but I do not think I will finish Demir. I think this is going to be a 3-round fight. I think this is going to be a very, very competitive fight, and I am ready for that. Co-main event spot, I am ready for a very, very tough fight.
I respect that. I was going to ask you kind of what you think about, because you mentioned a step up in competition. You mentioned being an underdog. It sounds like you have a lot of respect for him. What do you think of him as a fighter?
Fantastic fighter, absolutely fantastic. He's beat a lot of really good guys, a lot of really, really good guys. But again, this is what I wanted. I wanted somebody that once I beat him, people are going to say, okay, let's give Grant top 5, maybe top 10. Let's give him somebody that if he wins, he gets a title shot. That's the goal.
That's awesome. Last thing here, I was going to kind of ask you, knowing that your mission is, a world title or bust, I mean, a win here, like you said, top 5, top 10. I mean, do you feel like you deserve that? Do you call people out? Do you say, how does it work from here?
Yes, but I think it all kind of depends on how the fight goes. Again, I'm expecting a 3-round war, 100%. If I do get a finish, I think that throws me into the top, higher than if I win a split decision, A lot of people come on this stage and they say, oh, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. And I love the confidence. I get it, but I'm not stupid. I know that anything can happen. He could have the best night of his career and I could have the worst night of my career and still win a split decision. That's not something you start calling for big names against. I think going out there, looking for a finish, having a great performance, 30-27, whatever it is, then we go to the drawing board and say, okay, who are we calling out? I've got a couple of names in mind, but it all depends on how the fight goes.
Hey, Grant. With you being at a big gym now, and teammates after having to fight teammates. Like, how was it training with Joaquin Silva, but knowing Armin Sarukian was just around the corner? Like, and I guess with Armin wanting to train with you, I heard he like asked you to train with him a couple times.
Yeah, we all trained together at ATT, but it was a situation where it's like, hey, you're fighting Neto, and Neto is a very good friend of mine, and it was, hey man, sure, after the fight we can train together, that's fine, but I'm helping Neto right now, and he gets that. He absolutely understands that kind of that situation. And man, Armin's a weird case because his last 4 matchups have all been ATT guys. You know, he fought Demir, he fought Gamrot, he was going to fight Moicano, and then he fought Neto. So it's like one of those things where I would love to train with you, I want to get better, but I kind of know who you're eyeing next. So it's like, you know, you got to kind of be smart about it. But dude, I'm down to train with anybody. If you're not trying to hurt me, I'm down to train with anybody.
And then there was some controversy in the MMA world with Natan Shaw and Haush Manfio. What do you think about the whole situation? Like, were you kind of weirded out by the matchup to begin with, and then everything that happened afterwards?
Yeah, that's a boycott PFL situation because that makes no sense. They're 2 former champions. They're 2 former title winners or tournament winners. I'm sorry, and so for them to fight not even in the tournament. It makes no sense. And I think that there was some politics that went behind it. I don't know the whole story. I think there was some politics that went behind it. Shane Burgos, who's another good friend of mine, I'm happy that he got in, but I think that that's why they did that. I think that they matched those 2 up and were hoping that some type of controversy would happen to where they could slip Shane Burgos into the tournament. And again, super happy for Shane. Love that dude. But I think that was kind of the situation. I'm really bummed out for Neto. I'm sorry, for Natan.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Absolutely.
Hey, Grant, you're very lasered in, and we know your expectations of winning that big title shot. Of course, you wanting to be a champion one day. For you, what are the logs that are being thrown into your fire that's pushing your motivation outside or deeper within than just wanting to be champion?
Man, I think there's a lot of unhappy people in the world right now. A lot. And I think that the things that they're missing are... I think a lot of people are missing family, and I think a lot of people are missing accomplishment. And one thing for me is I just find so much joy and happiness out of chasing this dream. And when my father, anytime I would do anything, he would tell me I have to be the best at it, right? So any type of situation, whether you're working, whether you have to try to be the best at it. So going into MMA, I absolutely loved it. I was having so much fun. I have to be the best at it. And for me, hand to God, winning that belt and then losing it the next day, that would be enough for me. I just want to be able to tell myself for one night that at 155 pounds on down, I am the best fighter in the world. That is just something that, it keeps me up at night, man. It really does. It keeps me up at night.
Awesome. Thank you.
You mentioned the Tony as a fight that was brought up in the talks. Regardless of your result this weekend, does that fight with Tony still interest you, or does it not spark much interest anymore?
Man, it's a fist fight. I think any fight interests me. Absolutely, I would fight Tony. If I go out there and absolutely demolish Demir, and they're like, hey, you can have a top 15 guy, or I'm sorry, a top 5 guy, or Tony, it would really just come down to the dates, hey, like which dates are we talking about? If it's the same date, I'll probably take the top 5 guy, but if they're offering Tony, I'll take it. I get paid the same no matter who I fight, and Tony is a huge name. It's not like he's a nobody.
For sure. And the Sarukian Neto situation was just brought up, and I remember you saying it was kind of a weird encounter going into their fight. Now that fight went down, was there any other story you could share from that time between those two?
I'm sorry, could you say it again?
The Sarukian Neto situation was brought up, and I remember you saying in an interview that it was kind of weird having them on each separate sides of the mat. Now that their fight went down already, is there like another story you could share from that, or?
I think American Top Team handles these kind of situations, as shitty as they might be. They handle them very, very well. I don't think there was any, ill will or spying or any type of that kind of situation. At least from what I saw. I'm focusing on my own fight at the same time, but from what I saw, it seemed like the weirdest part was, we're all doing strength and conditioning in the same practice. That was weird. Like, it was Neto and Armin and me, and we're all just like lifting, and it's just, that was weird for me. I don't like that. I like to focus on me and not worry about, is my opponent watching or anything like that. But, it's just one of those situations that you're going to have to deal with. And this is what I tell people all the time is in fighting, you're going to get thrown curveballs. And if you can't handle it outside the cage, you're not going to be able to handle it inside the cage. So I have a lot of respect for both of those guys for being able to do that.
For sure. And putting the focus back on this weekend, your opponent Demir had originally planned to retire after the Sarukian fight. Now he's coming back. I guess what do you make of that now that he's fighting you in his comeback?
I think that he says he was sick when he fought Arman, and I believe him. And I think that when you take a loss in a high-profile fight and you're not feeling the best, I think that those thoughts kind of get you down. I think that he was just kind of being emotional when he said it. I think that he doesn't really want to stop fighting. I think he loves the sport just like all of us, but I think that he was just in an emotional situation. I was going to quit yesterday. Dude, I'm hungry. There's zebra cakes at my house. I was this close to being like, you know what, screw it.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
You mentioned that all three of you guys were lifting weights next to each other and it was a little bit awkward. Is any part of you like, maybe I'll put can see me lift more?
So I actually had, not that because I'm very weak in the weight room, but we do this drill. We jump up and we hang the bar and you got to hang on for a while. And I had sparring and then we just did a whole workout and it was the last thing we were doing. And man, my grip strength is just not great. And I'm slipping and Armin's sitting right next to me, just stone cold face, holding. I was like, all right, I can't be the first one to fall. I'm not falling. I'm doing the whole time, man. But other than that, it's a weird situation for sure. But again, if you can't handle curveballs outside the cage, you're not going to be able to handle them inside the cage. So do what you got to do. Awesome, guys. Thank you so much.